Yeah, quick cap and subject that I start to get excited about, and that little timer disappears so very quickly. Yeah, once we start looking at the relations between these as significant, and that's another problem. This distinction that we like to draw in perceptual problems of the some sort of arbitrary hierarchy between action and actor, wherein uh, we categorize them in such a way that we can um, that we essentially regard them as of greater and lesser importance, of greater and lesser significance. And we also tend to define them in such a way that we would say that action is transitory, it begins, it ends, um, and is only a connection between two actors, and yet action can impact action, especially when we're talking about perceptual problems. And actor, um, the the state of the actor is every bit as transitory as the action, so the distinction there is somewhat moot, at least for any sort of epistemic claim. So, um, this room that I described is not a collection of actors with empty space occasionally occupied by actions. But if we are looking for significance, if we are looking to assign or attach significance, we would consider that room a solid space. It is entirely occupied. It is entirely occupied. It's almost like a stew that you left in the crock pot a little too long, where the beef isn't really entirely beef anymore. The carrots aren't entirely carrots anymore, and they've all gotten soft enough that the distinctions become very difficult. And may sound this may lead us into some degree of subjectivity, but we have the other problem, um, and the real kicker in where it gets really fun, because everything that we've described in this little metaphor about guys watching a screen um, have from the immediate view of the action actor, however the hell we draw that distinction anymore, um, their first person, its first person, they have the same existential dilemma, um, coming into coming into a thing, a space, a sequence, a context already existent. And even its immediacy, even the immediacy of placement within this context, does not allow distinction from this context because the context is one of immediate entries. Um, as such, as such, our little metaphor, our metaphor in its entirety, um, exists in much the way that I do. It exists in much the way the objects that I manipulate do. It exists as much the same as the concept that I'm trying to address through this metaphor does. Um, is something that has perpetually irked me, about subjectivity, objectivity, and the entire duality, of this definition, of this entire school of perceptual definition, is that there's an implicit dismissal in it. It it essentially functions to tell us what we can consider not real, and does so without ever really tackling the question head on. Obviously, I think that questions of dismissals of this as not real, i.e., this is not actionable, um, this is not a source of action, this is not a source of cause or consequence, or of a tertiary hierarchy, um, of cause and consequence. Um, these questions seem to immediately take the cart before the horse, and are also predicated on just a very snide sense of utilitarianism, a very self-assured functionalism. Um, yeah. Oh, there's a reason we don't invite Descartes to our dinner parties anymore.